can learn and how self-education can change the rest of your life, all on today's Beautiful Mind Show.
Your mind is a beautiful thing, but if left unattended, it can get ugly real quick. If you're not constantly curating the content your mind consumes on a daily basis, then your surroundings will dictate your daily thoughts, habits, behaviors, and actions. This show has only one goal: to leave your mind more beautiful than it was when you arrived. Welcome to the Beautiful Mind Show.
So today, I actually used to do this. And by the way, if this is your first time meeting me, you might not know this, but on my LinkedIn profile, it always asks me, where did you go to school? And one of my favorite answers to where did you go to school is the School of Hard Knocks. Why do I like that title of Hard Knocks? Because I am one of those people who did not go to college, who did not go to get a master's degree or do any of that. In my life, and the way I look and operate is that I really feel and have felt that life was a great teacher. I barely graduated high school. In fact, I got pretty poor grades in high school, and I wasn't really sure if I was going to graduate. And until they actually handed me my diploma, I wasn't sure if I was going to make it out of high school the way that I needed to. So on today's show, we're going to talk about what are the things that you learn post education. What do you learn after high school? Maybe after college, maybe after whatever trade school you went to. No matter what it is, what did you learn afterwards? And I've got a good friend, a mentor with some of the programs that we operate with me today, and just an all-around amazing person, Amy Roslin. Please welcome to the show. Amy, what's up, Amy?
Hi, thanks for having me.
Oh my gosh, so glad to have you on. I'm really excited to be talking about our subject today, because this whole idea of like self-education, like I've been telling people, I've been going on this like personal development bender for really like the last 2 months, but really for the last 12 years. And you and I were just talking about, you've been on the same quest yourself. What's led you to this giant personal development journey for you?
Years ago, I just was looking for leadership, coaching, and I think just wanted to continue to grow. I never feel like I'm satisfied enough. So anytime I learned something, I feel like another door opens and another opportunity comes that I would have never imagined. So just continuing wanting to grow my business, grow relationships grow my family. I think that's kind of what's led me there, but also myself. I just always want to challenge myself to the next best thing.
Yeah, that's big. And by the way, if you guys can do me a favor, if you're on listening or watching with us live, you can comment where you're on from. I see Sherbert on here. What's up, Sherbert? From Memphis, Tennessee. Glad to have you on and hanging out with us. And for the rest of you guys, as you weigh in and type in the chat, I'd love to hear from you. Amy, I think that's really it, right? Is like there's kind of a school of thought, I think, sometimes that people say things like, well, I just want to be happy with what I have, and I don't want to be disrespectful of what I have by being unsatisfied and trying to get something else. Have you ever heard people say things like that before?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Right. And it's one of those things to me that I hear people like, Jason, I just want to be happy with what I have in this moment. And I think I agree with that. And you know what I'm saying? Like, I agree with that. And like, I'm very happy with everything that I have in my life right now. I am grateful. I am beyond blessed. I am like ridiculously blessed in my life right now and super, super happy. But I always want to know what I'm capable of. Do you know what I'm saying? Is like, I think the second you just go, well, I'm really happy and I don't want to change anything, just leave it the way it is. I think if you move into that mode where you're not learning anything, then you're going backwards and you're unlearning. Because I forget crap every day. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I forget stuff all the time and I'm like, well, I better learn some new stuff because it's falling out the other side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So tell me about you, Amy. Tell me what have been some big spots in you, like the School of Hard Knocks, and they call it Hard Knocks because it's like you get smacked in the head and you learn something. What have been some hard knocks to you that have taught you some lessons, or what have been some places you've gone to get some learning outside of, regular education?
It's so funny. I just reflected on this about 2 days. Well, yeah, my birthday was 2 days ago, turned 44. And
woo-hoo! By the way, happy birthday.
Thank you. And I reflected back to like what's happened in the last 44 years. Like what have I done and where have I came from? And so I was like thinking of all the accomplishments and all the things I've achieved, but not even just backwards, but what's going forwards. And so from there, I kind of was like, all right, this is awesome, but what's possible and like what's next? Yeah. And so I'm always thinking of what's the next thing, right? And so I think just asking that question is like, oh, wow, just thinking of all the things of all the different pivotal points in my life that may have been very scary or very hard to get through, but what personal me on to me in that direction, right? And everything has been a turning point. Now, not always the best turning point, right? But from there, maybe I've taken another direction and I would go to another journey or another personal development. And maybe it was the place I needed to be at that moment. And then it would lead.
Can you give me some examples, Amy, of like what have been some spots for you that you felt were like pivotal points in your journey? If you're okay sharing some of those, what have been some that you're like, dang, this was a wake up call, or this was a change for me? What have been some things like that stand out to you? Since you just reflected back on these last 44 years, for crying out loud, what have been a couple of those that have changed you?
Yeah, sure. I mean, some really hard personal moments, you know. I mean, I had my son at a very young age. Well, you know, I didn't go to college. I grew from there. You know, I could have went down a sinkhole, but I chose to pick myself up, grow him, and be the person I needed to be. You know, so there led me to cosmetology school, to open my own business, but you know, that was a stopping point. From there, it was like, what can I do better now? What do I got to do to make this where do I got to go next? Right.
Right.
Then, you know, another personal journey. 12 years ago, I lost a daughter unexpectedly. It was being hit by a Mack truck. Well, I could have either laid down and gave up, or I can learn a very big lesson from that, right? And how can that empower me and people around me? So I think everything has a lesson, and there's a personal development in everything we do. It's just really paying attention to it and like, what do you want? You know, what do you want? What do you want from that? And it's okay to cry, kick, and scream, but get that out of your way and learn something from it, right?
Totally. I mean, yeah, I you know, having a kid at a young age, you know, not going to school, you know, losing a daughter, like, I mean, I can't even imagine dealing with a lot of those things. And I think to your point, the question becomes like, you said it, like, do you let that kick you? Do you let it hold you down? Do, you know, like, what do you learn from it and where do you grow from it? What would you say were the things? Cause like, did you feel like you learned from those things, Amy, in the moment? Like, cause I'm sure people are like, oh, there's a good reason for this to have happened to you. Like, did you have people that were telling you like, don't worry, it's all good in the moment? And were you happy about that? Were you upset about it? Like, when did the learning come for you on those moments that were really challenging? What would you say?
I think, you know, when they were really challenging, sometimes your emotions would get in the way. But if you know, I don't know, I guess I'm trying to think of exact moments. And I remember though, you know, I remember saying, well, you can hunker down and not do anything, or you can get up and do something. Right. Yeah. And I remember that. And it was during a time of also recession. So my husband was also laid off, right? So the company still had to go on, and life still had to go on, and my son still needed me, my husband still needed me, and I needed me. So I had to learn how to grow to also grow for others, right? Yeah. And at that point, I think you pay attention to what lessons are happening around you, and know that sometimes your emotion's going to get in the way, but after that, there is a lesson, right? There is something.
Yeah. So for you, it was more about, if I'm understanding what you said right, is for you, it was more about staying in motion when you were in those moments so the lesson could come later, not necessarily like that one moment taught you a great lesson and then, okay, thanks. Next, it was like you just stayed in motion so that the lesson could come later.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Kept moving. Mm-hmm.
Well, and so what would you say are some of the lessons that you've taken away from that? I mean, what have you said are like have become, what makes you different or stand out from another person? I mean, I've never lost a child. I can't even imagine like what that's like. What would you say is a lesson that separates you a little bit from having that experience? Like what's the lesson that you got from that for you or for those around you, or how has it been good for you in any way, shape, or form?
Yeah. I mean,
If it has.
everything looked so different, I mean, after that day, literally the sky color looked different. Everything looked different. And I think just learning to communicate with people in a different way. I remember somebody told me, they're like, you're going to handle it one way and your husband's going to handle it another. And I never had understood communication like that. Right. Which carried into everything I do. And so I think communication, presence, knowing that there's nothing's guaranteed to us. I mean, the unexpected, and taking opportunities as they come your way. That's been really, really big.
So can you give me an example of opportunity? Like, what about opportunities? What have you learned about that? Because to your point, everything's unexpected. People handle things differently. Being present and being aware of opportunities, because you never know what's there. Mm-hmm. What kind of opportunities have you paid attention to, or that you've been benefited from just looking at this idea that anything can happen?
I think just opportunities like any with business and I mean, it comes to mind for me is like, I jumped on with High Performance Salon Academy. I jumped on with you guys. I went somewhere that I had never thought that I would go. Didn't even know where I showed up to in San Diego or what I was there for. I mean, truthfully, like I was like, I don't even know what I'm here doing, but I'm here.
And you took a leap of faith there.
Yeah. I mean, shoot, we just, we went and shot machine guns and drove tanks and, I think just pushing myself to the next level. But what I've learned when I do that, though, how much it affects others. It's not just about me, it's about how that spreads out upon everybody else. And so that's what I've really just noticed as I take challenges, or I'm focusing on me, I'm growing me, but I'm actually spreading that out among a lot of people, even when you don't realize it. So I just think that that's super powerful. And that's been a big lesson to me. Also huge opportunities there.
Well, yeah. So tell me about spreading it out over other people. So like you said, you've trusted going and doing something random and having that be beneficial, right? And kind of trusting that could be a good thing of just taking a risk. How does that spread to other people, or what do you hope people see you and then learn, or from knowing you, what do you hope that they learn from that?
I hope they learn strength and trust, and to take challenges when they come their way. And I don't know, I just I really love when somebody reaches out and they're like, wow, what are you doing? Yeah, like, here's what I'm doing. I'm taking these challenges, I'm taking these risks, but they play into other parts of my life. So if people are also doing that in their own lives, they're going to grow beyond what they ever thought that they could do. And that's what I love to see and share whenever I'm doing these challenges, or, people see the personal growth, that they'll find it within themselves too. Yeah.
Do you find you have like a gut, like how do you make a decision about if something's a good idea? To your point on taking a risk, when do you decide like, oh man, I should go to the casino and gamble this $4,000 that I have on red at the casino?
Well, that would
versus right, different type of risk versus versus the idea that you can have something help you or set you up or serve you in a way that is sorry, I got distracted. I got like triple Jasons going on for a second there. But what I was gonna say is like, how do you make sure that like when you get that risk, you know when to act versus when to hold back? How do you make that determination? Like, what does Amy Roslin do to go, yes, I'm gonna take this risk, or no? Is it just like anybody asks you, you're like, hell yeah? Like what's your criteria for taking risks?
Anymore, I feel like it's almost hell yeah. I mean, I feel like everything that I've been led to, like I said, everything I've been led to lately in the last few years has been just another opportunity. So it's just another door opening. So most of the risks that I'm taking are things that I'm like, yeah, because it's going to give me another opportunity somewhere else. So yes, we have a joke. We always joke. We're like, yes, here's my card. Where do I sign up? Like, yes, take me to the next challenge. I want to do that. But risks, yeah, I mean, I think the criteria is like, is it going to benefit me? Is it going to grow me next level? Is it going to add value to my life?
Yeah. I kind of have like in that same vein that you were talking about, I have like a fun factor question. You know what I mean? Is like, do I think it's going to be fun? Like if it's fun and it's going to stretch me and it's going to help me to grow, then I'm all in. You know what I mean? Like I was looking at something the other day and I was just like, I really wonder if this, like, is this going to be fun? Is it going to put me in a uncomfortable position that I'm probably gonna have to grow? Yeah. And I think there's a lot of people, Amy, and I don't know, but I think there's a lot of people that are like, it sounds fun, but it sounds expensive. And I'll never forget, like, my wife and I, the very first trip we ever went on, and you know my wife, Charity, right? The very first trip we ever went on was we went to Hawaii. And it was for her, she graduated from college, and I think her dad gave her a pair of tickets to go to Hawaii. And so we went to Hawaii. And I remember we sat there on the bed in the hotel room in Hawaii on whatever the, crazy Hawaiian comforter that we're sitting on. And we had laid out all of the brochures for the things that you could do. You know, when you go to a hotel and there's all those brochures at the front desk and they're like, these are all the cool things you could do in our city. And we sat down and we're like, we literally spent the whole first night that we were there in the hotel room trying to decide all the cool crap we want to do because we'd never been to Hawaii before. If you've been to Hawaii, do me a favor and chat and say Hawaii and tell me what island you've been to because it's amazing. And we sat down and we talked about what we were going to do. And we spent all this time trying to figure it out. And the problem was we wanted to do everything. And I remember thinking, oh crap, how much money did we bring? Can we afford to go? Every additional excursion was like $100, and it was like, well, how many hundreds of dollars can we spend in extra money that was on this free trip? We were both basically like, she was just graduating college. I was just barely working. And so we were trying to figure it out. And we said yes. I think out of our 7-day trip, we probably said yes to like 5 different crazy excursions. And those were life-changing for me. Because even though at the time that $100 was so important that we had to do it, and we'd go on some crazy adventure, and we went and we went out and went and did a evening yacht experience, and like went out and did a sunset yacht dinner cruise, and then we went out and did a snorkel trip, and we did all of these things, and it was just spectacular to go out and do things that you realize. There's a lot of people, like Randy just commented, Hawaii is somebody I've always wanted to visit. Like there's so many people that like just haven't even been there, haven't even been through that experience. And sometimes people will go all the way there. They'll go all the way to Hawaii and they'll miss that last 10% of the experience. They'll miss that, like the jet boat trip or whatever. Like, I'm okay. I'm cool just sitting on the beach. I should just be grateful to be here. And I don't know, maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm a little crooked in my brain from like, I'm on tilt, you know what I mean? For us, all our old pinball kids that are talking to us right now. Like I'm on tilt a little bit that I just go, I love this, but what else is there?
Yeah.
And not out of a greed of like, I want to discount that Hawaii is a beautiful place. But if I can go and like swim with frickin' turtles, like, I can't swim with turtles in Sacramento. That's not an option. That doesn't exist here. But every time I go, there's always like a dessert to have that makes the trip or experience or whatever it is even better. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I agree 100%. It's just, you don't want to leave anything on the table, right?
Yes.
If there's an opportunity there, you got to take it. You don't know. What if you're not coming back and you say that one thing? So that's kind of, I guess that's it. Like, that's it. That one thing of like, well, what if I regret that? I guess I better do that. So, yeah, I mean, nothing left behind, right? Nothing left on the table.
Well, and I think to your point on when you have those experiences, I mean, when you have an experience of loss, and again, like you did, or you have an experience where you thought something was going to work out one way and it didn't, and again, maybe for me, and that loss was like me going to school or deciding I wasn't going to do what I thought I was going to do because I thought I was going to move to LA and be an actor. That was what I was going to do. I was going to be a super famous actor. It clearly worked out for me. Now I have a podcast. That's how that happens. But the idea is, right, is that when you experience some level of loss of like, I thought my future was going to be this, but now it's this. And by the way, if you experience that level of loss in any form or fashion, it could be something like physical loss of a person, like what Amy was talking about, or it could just be loss of like, I thought my future was this, and now it's this. It's just a change in that future direction. I think it changes you, or it can change you, to be able to ask yourself, well, look, if there's any reality as possible, I can create any of this, then I just don't want to miss anything. I love that. Right? It's just that idea of like, I don't want to miss anything, because anything can be taken away, anything can be given. So if that's the case, then what do we do? How do we create that opportunity?
Yeah.
And to your point, like, yes, and here's my card. I'm all about that. Every time I've been on vacation, I go back to that vacation analogy. Every time I go on vacation, there's never a bad dollar that I've spent on vacation. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I've bought some quote unquote stupid souvenirs, or I've paid for an experience. I was like, that was all right. But like, I never go like, that $5, that extra $10 I spent on that food that I've never eaten before, or that place that we got to go visit. I've never complained about that after the fact.
Yeah.
You know?
I think memories are what's created there. I mean, and that lasts forever. So when you do things, or you eat something strange that you wouldn't have done before, or you take a risk on doing, I don't know, jumping out of a plane or something, you're going to talk about those experiences for a long time. But I think also too, what happens with those experiences, you grow with those, right? You now know that you can do that. So it gives you a little more confidence, a little more boost to do the next thing. And that next thing also, I think, just incorporates into life. And I love, like, example, shooting that machine gun, you saw my face. It was probably one of the most horrifying moments of my life, but I did it. Yeah. I have pictures. I have mental pictures of you from that trip. And by the way, if you guys don't know, we do something called High Octane Adventures. And Amy went with us. Actually, Lindsay Haney, who was on a previous podcast, and Amy Roslin. I just watched the video because Lindsay shared it on your page for your birthday. Yeah. And she shared that video of you guys after you'd rolled your Polaris Racer on the racetrack after jumping it 35 feet in the air, whatever, normal things. But I have this mental image of you screaming bloody murder as people were crushing cars in the tanks. And then I have this picture of your face after shooting that machine gun. Just terrified me. Right. And I have pictures of you, and I have mental video and pictures of you, and actually real video of you too, cackling like a crazy person after rolling that Polaris Razor. And to your point is like, what, those heightened crazy states of emotion where you're just doing something way beyond yourself are so much fun. And I would also add in there, because we're talking about self-education, is like those education moments of like doing something like shooting a machine gun. That's education. It is education, right? It is. Yeah. It's Amy Roslin, by the way. Somebody asked what's Amy's last name. Find her. I'll tag her in this. She'll comment in the comment section. Find Amy. Know what she does. She's great. Amy, by the way, runs a salon down in St. Louis. She's got a salon in You're in the city of St. Louis, right? Is where your salon is? Well, we're about 30, 40 miles outside of St. Louis. You're like when I say Sacramento, I don't really mean Sacramento. It's the same thing. Right. Yeah, I don't really mean Sacramento, but that's the closest place you can think of. Yeah, it's just an easier way to say it. I totally get it. So we're talking about education and the School of Hard Knocks, and it's like, I think there's something magical, Amy, about learning something from rolling a quad on a racetrack that you just can't get in a classroom. Like even now, right? You're hearing about us talking about that machine gun, and like Amy and I could be the best, like, let's describe the process of shooting this machine gun to the best possible. Yeah. But like the gut emotion that you feel, because I have never shot a machine gun till that day either. And I remember sitting there and I was like, I'm watching, because we had a bunch of you guys with us, and I remember we had Russ and I'm drawing a blank. The other guy one of the other guys who was with us. We had Todd, Russ, and Greg.
And Greg. Oh my gosh, can't forget Greg.
Right.
With Todd, Russ, and Greg. And they're like, I love these machine guns. Give me the machine guns. I want to shoot these things because it'll be fun. And then we had all these other people, and there was 3 people that didn't even want to go in the room that we were shooting machine guns. And they're like, I'm not going to go. And I remember Leah and Lindsay Lowe, and they were like in the corner, and they're like, I'm not going to touch it.
Yeah.
Remember, we walked over to the machine guns. I put my hand on Leah, and I was like, hey, if you don't want to do this, you don't have to do it. Like, it's really okay. You absolutely don't have to, but I just would say you're 99% of the way there. I got you in the room. Mm-hmm. Do you want to walk over and touch the gun? Mm-hmm. Okay. Walked over, touched the gun. I was like, you can pull the trigger if you want. And I remember Leah getting on the machine gun. I picture her face vividly because you had just shot it. She's right there. And she pulled it and was like, ah, right? And trying to figure it out. And I remember for me too, you pull the trigger and you're like, I had no idea it was going to feel like that. And no amount of explanation prepares you for what you were about to experience.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's it. I mean, our entire life and our memory of our life is made up of the experiences that we burn into our minds with what's called an emotional stamp. That's how I talk about it. It's an emotional stamping, right? Is you have an experience you've never had before, and it becomes this emotional stamp, and that makes up the fabric of how you operate in your mind of your past experiences. And I think so many people so often are just not looking to do any stamping. In fact, they just want to kind of clean it up, get the Clorox wipes out, make sure everything's clean and tidy and neat. And let's not put any risks out there. And I think the mistake is thinking that when you went to school, high school, junior high, elementary school, or even college or trade school or whatever other place that you went, that was the finish line of your education.
Yep. It's just the beginning. I mean, honestly, I can even say in the last 4 years, my growth has just been, I think that's where I've felt a lot is in the last 4 years. I really have just grown beyond it. And even relating the situations, just like this, the machine gun, is how you feel on this side of it versus how you feel on the other side of it once you've done it. Right.
Yeah.
The fears, the what ifs, the what's, the scare, you're shook up, and then you get over it. You come to the other side after you've done it, and you're just like, you can't help it, but like, whoa, excited because you feel so much bigger. You grow in that moment, and I think that's it. Like, those experiences take you to that next level, and you just really show to yourself of how much you can do. Yeah. What's next? Now what's next? Air combat. So
yeah, we're gonna go fly stunt planes and do a sky combat experience. That should be awesome. Coming up in May, should be amazing. So anyway, Amy, I love having you on. I just love this conversation because I think the self-education thing, if life is really an amalgamation of experiences that we experience, why not keep cranking up that level of experience and make them great, whether it's on an adventure or just being able to take the experience that you have every day of your life and turn it into something that becomes self-education for you and for those around you. So Amy, thanks for being on Beautiful Minds today. I appreciated the conversation. If this was fun for you, do me a favor and say fun in the comments. And if you know somebody that needs to get outside their comfort zone and get stretched and go do something, or take their experience that was that life handed them a hard knock and they need to learn from it, share this podcast with them. I'd really appreciate it, because I think sometimes you got to hear that you can come back from things that might be considered tough and turn into the most amazing lessons in your life. Amy, thank you so much for being on today. Guys, thanks for joining us on Beautiful Minds. Bye for now.
Thank you.